It's Monday, October 3rd, 2011. I'm Kevin McShann, and this is the McShann Sports Beat Report.
First down all day for Stafford. It goes to the end zone. Jump ball, touchdown. Megatron is in for the touchdown, Calvin Johnson. That there's two defenders down there covering him, and he just alley-ooped it. I mean, he just threw it up in the air saying, okay, I'm going to give my guy a chance. I talked to Matthew Stafford before the game on the field, and I asked him about this very thing, and he said he gets double covered so much. You know, as Calvin Johnson came off the ball, you know, it wasn't anything in particular. He just running a seam route, but you see he's kind of positioning himself. And the big thing was Matthew Stafford was not getting any pressure in the pocket, so he was holding it. And then as soon as he sees that Calvin Johnson's in a position to make a play, he just throws it up. I knew we could score on second or third down. They love it. Calvin Johnson with a touchdown, but a flag is down in the back of the end zone. Defense, 12 men in the field at the snap. Penalties decline. Fumble the play. Touchdown. And for Calvin Johnson, that is 4 straight games. Well, you can't double him down here. You know, when you get that close to the goal line, you've got to cover him with one guy. Terrence Newman, he draws the short straw. And as we've talked about, Matthew Stafford, he knows that he's got a size advantage with Calvin Johnson. Just give him a chance.
Opinions in professional sports are routinely based on 3 criteria: objectivity, performance, and production. And after 4 weeks of an exhilarating NFL season, ESPN's NFL analyst Cris Carter may want to reconsider his stance on Detroit Lions star receiver Calvin Johnson.
So CC is hosting with me on Friday, and we're taking Twitter questions for him. And someone says, hey CC, who's the best receiver in the NFL? Which I thought, I'm curious to hear this. And I actually thought he would pick between Andre Johnson, Calvin Johnson, and Larry Fitzgerald. I tend to think those are the top 3 guys.
Yes.
He said, I got 5 for you, Greedy, and he listed them off, and none of them was Calvin Johnson. So before the whole world had a chance to react, I asked him about that, and he said,
Calvin Johnson, he's very, very good at Madden or Tecmo Bowl or whatever they're playing now. But out on the field, when I watch film and I break down the film, he's not to the point of these guys yet. That doesn't mean he can't play. He's just not there yet. Calvin Johnson, right now, you don't have to double team him to take him out of the game. Now, I made 8 Pro Bowls. I made it with 5 different quarterbacks, and they weren't always great, so I don't want to hear the excuse that I'm not playing with a great quarterback. Larry Fitzgerald the last couple of years hadn't played with a great quarterback, but he still gets the number. He still gets open. He still makes plays week in and week out. So I don't want to hear about the quarterback situation. That's all part of the process. Now, he is a good player. He's just not great yet.
So that was CC's opinion, and, you know, the Lions were reacting over the weekend and, you know, obviously standing up for their guy. And so there you have it. So just in case you're saying, so there's so many people reacting to this all over the place, you want to hear what he actually said, that's what he actually said.
I'm in disagreement with Cris Carter. I think he's a top 5 guy, maybe even a top 4, top 3 guy. What he did this year, 14.5 yards a catch, over 1,100 yards, 12 touchdowns. 2 years ago, he had over 1,300 yards receiving. He had 12 touchdowns, averaged over 17 yards a catch. So, the production is there. And I understand what Chris is saying. He did it with a bad quarterback. Did it with a lot of quarterbacks.
And for those who are wondering, he was responding to something I had said.
Right.
When I said Calvin Johnson is doing it with bad quarterbacks, CC didn't just come up with that out of nowhere. He was responding to my having brought that up.
I don't know. I mean, I've seen a guy 2 out of the last 3 years have monster numbers. Now, I know technically he doesn't do some things right, as far as route running and such, but production's there. The production, the proof is in the pudding, as they say. He's putting up some big numbers. And there has to be a little bit to the fact that you're doing it on a bad team. You're doing it when people know they're coming to you with the ball. Greg Jennings had right around the same type of stats, 76 receptions, over 1,200 yards, and 12 touchdowns. Different offenses, wouldn't you say? The quarterback throwing you the ball, other weapons you have on that team. I don't know. I have Calvin Johnson definitely in the top 5.
And CC, what he called this morning? And being told, he called this morning and said he's right there with the top 5 guys. I may have given Reggie Wayne a gift. That's a good one. Leave it to CC. He'll make someone else mad in the explanation of it. Now we'll have to read stories tomorrow in Indianapolis about how Cris Carter says he gave Reggie Wayne a gift.
Yeah.
One way or another. Look, this is what makes the world go round, right?
Yes,
you give an opinion. This is the beauty of this. We're arguing over nothing. What difference does it make? You know what I mean? Like, here we are debating whether Calvin Johnson is one of the 5 best receivers in football. What difference does it make? I'll give you another opinion. Cam Newton's going to be a superstar. How do you like that? Take that in your pipe and smoke it.
The Lions are on a remarkably tantalizing run. They've now won their last 8 regular season games dating back to a year ago. And it's the first time in 31 seasons that the team has started a campaign 4-0. Their winning ways continued after they rallied from a 24-point deficit to beat the Dallas Cowboys by a score of 34-30. And at the heart of that dramatic comeback was Johnson himself, who spent some time this week talking to Rich Gannon, the former Raiders signal caller, and Jim Miller, who used to take snaps for the Chicago Bears on Sirius XM Radio. The men discussed the hot start by the Lions and how the relationship between Johnson and quarterback Matthew Stafford has evolved.
Well, you look at your offensive coordinator, Scott Linehan, obviously dialing up the plays, getting you uncovered at certain times. And last week it showed, the 7 receptions, the 108 yards. Dallas Cowboys have already talked about it, Calvin. Gerald Sensabaugh, their head coach, Jason Garrett, they think you're the best receiver in all of football, and you're certainly going to garner more attention. What can the Detroit Lions do to continue to free you up to continue to make those big plays?
My biggest thing, we get our backs involved, and we keep these other playmakers making plays. It'd be harder and harder to double D up. So as long as other guys are out here making plays, we're gonna be all right.
Kevin, I know a lot of this success stems back to last year. The way you guys finished the season, you won 4 in a row with a backup quarterback, and even into the offseason where a lot of teams weren't making the effort to get together. You guys did that. You got together and worked out in the Detroit area. How important was all that in terms of getting off to a good start this season?
Well, the way we got together this offseason now is really important because we had our key guys here, up here at Country Day School, whatever it was called, and that was really important for us to see that continuity, and we're able to be able to come up here and get a little chemistry going before we got on the field. So those things, and then like you said, the way we ended the season last year kind of boosted our confidence. We knew what we could do, and we're showing it right now.
Well, the confidence Matthew Stafford has to just throw it up to you. I mean, I think of that last catch, your ability to track the football, maybe touch on that standpoint of the cohesiveness, the continuity, the timing between you and Matthew Stafford. Can it get even better for the Detroit Lions and you two?
Oh yeah, there's always room to improve, you know. But at the same time, you know, we've been here several years now. You know, he's been watching, you know, tons of film on our opponents, on other quarterbacks, on what we have on the field right now, just to improve the product that we're putting out there, you know. And you know, he stepped his game up so much. Like he's our, you know, he's our coach on the field. And when things get hectic out there, you know, like I said earlier, you know, he keeps, you know, he's always cool, calm, and collected. That's him on the field. There, you know, whatever, no matter what the situation is.
Calvin Matthew now in his third season. He battled injuries the first 2 years, the knee, the shoulder. Where have you seen the most improvement out of Matthew since training camp?
Since training camp, I don't know, it's just ever since we came back, like I was just talking about, you know, it's just a whole different demeanor. He just knows the offense in and out. You know, as the coordinator would, and that's kind of what you want out of your quarterback, to be able to get you in and out of good situations. So, I can really see that big change.
Stafford took some time out to come to the defense of his top target during his weekly conversation on Inside the Huddle with WXYZ's sports reporter Brad Daly, while head coach Jim Schwartz also sat down this week with Channel 7's sports director Don Chain to discuss the maturation process between the two.
He's spectacular, as you know, from working with him so much. But Cris Carter of ESPN, not as much of a fan of him. His critique, there's been a lot made of that. He keeps calling Kelvin not an elite receiver. You took to Twitter to have some fun and kind of defend him this week, saying 8 touchdowns in 4 weeks will hopefully change his mind. What was the motivation behind those remarks?
I don't know. I'm just having a little bit of fun. I think my guy, Calvin Johnson's a pretty good player, and I find it hard to believe that people across the country may not think the same, and I was just having some good fun. You know, Calvin's having a great year. Hopefully we can keep it going.
There's something to, you know, a great wide receiver, a great quarterback, and sort of, you know, a chemistry, so to speak, that they have. And part of that comes from practice. Part of it comes from playing together and being in the situations a lot of times. And I think that they're well on their way to being that kind of duo.
Analysts get paid to provide their opinion, and all too often we criticize them for not being honest, rather choosing to be politically correct. But in the case of Cris Carter's comments regarding Calvin Johnson, he's way off base on this one. And yes, I freely admit, when you're a perennial loser, you have to work notoriously harder to gain the respect that primetime winners always seem to garner. And for these national media folk who don't regularly cover a team week in and week out, they tend to side with the court of public opinion and go with the general consensus when it comes to basement-dwelling teams. However, the Lions are continuing on a long road back to respectability, trying to earn their stripes and restore the heartbeat in the heart of a Lion, and they're well on their way to accomplishing that goal. Calvin Johnson is the spark plug that makes the offense go in the Motor City week in and week out. He's a matchup nightmare for opposing defenses, and is quickly earning the reputation around the league as one of the very best, a reputation he's upheld during his tenure in the league. And now, since the Lions are winning, the national media is now inclined to take notice. And now, all Carter has to do is get on the bandwagon, because the Lions are building a team, a foundation and nucleus, which has the potential to be a well-oiled machine for years to come. And my friends, if Cris Carter could retract those comments he made on Johnson, I'm sure he would do it in a heartbeat. However, perception and perspective is 9/10 of the law, and sometimes we're all entitled to a mulligan. And for Carter, he's used his up on the Honolulu Blue and Silver's top aerial target. Kevin McShann, Sports Beat, report.